welcome to the Danvers Zoning Board of Appeals. We're now in session. I would ask that everybody either turn off your cell phones or switch them to vibrate, as we don't want to be interrupted. I'm going to start out by introducing our board members. To my far right is Mr. Bob Signetti, Becky Kilborn, our clerk Ken Scholes, myself, John Bowner as the chair, and Jeff Sauer. Our alternates are Ken Jarvinian and Corinne Doherty. Here from the Code Administration Department, we have special guest star Dave Harris down there, our building inspector Rich Maloney, and our secretary Kathleen Archibald. Just a few things I want to go over, and then I'll explain our procedures to you. Tonight, we ask people that are presenting to come down to this microphone here in the center. And please, folks, if you could leave your masks on until you come to the microphone to speak, and then, of course, remove them so we can hear you clearly. And public discussion or comments will be at the microphone over here to my left. We ask that you kind of flow through the auditorium this way, so once you leave the podium, go up this walkway. Same with public that comes to this microphone, walk around and go back to your seat that way. We will allow time for our Code Administration Department to wipe the microphones before in between cases, so we'll adhere to that protocol and keep everybody safe. I think we have minutes from our last meeting.
Motion to accept.
Second. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Folks, what we ask is that you come down, present your case after the clerk reads the docket number and the description on the case. We'll listen to your presentation. From there, it'll come up to the board. We will ask questions of you regarding the case. Once the board has completed asking all their questions, we'll go out for public comment or questions, again at that microphone over there. And then after that, we close the public portion of the meeting. We'll come back up here to the board for deliberations, which you'll hear. And from there, you'll get a feel for which way the board's leaning on your case. And we'll present you with your options. Whether or not you have the votes, it'll pass. If not, you can continue or withdraw without prejudice. We are televised on Danvers Cable. So again, when you come up, please announce who you are, your address, and speak loud and clearly. We are kind of far away. Hopefully the mics are up and we can hear everything. It's not ideal, but I do want to thank the Code Administration Department for continuing to get this set up so we can get these meetings going. We've had quite a few months where we weren't holding them. I think that's it. Did I miss anything? I did not. So if you will, Mr. Clerk, we'll start with our first continued case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first case is William Lee Trust, docket 20-4869, requesting a dimensional variance to construct a two-family on 15,111 square feet. 11,319 square feet is located in R1 district, and 3,792 square feet is located in C3 district, in accordance with Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 150 Sylvan Street.
And please move that microphone to where we can hear you and the folks on cable can as well.
Okay. My name is Mike Panzero. I'm here with Zach Fellows for 150 Sylvan Street. We're back again. We've listened to all your concerns, and we got a little creative here. Instead of going with the parking in the front, we changed it with a carport going through so we could access the back for parking. We changed the bedrooms from going from 4 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms on each unit. So instead of the 8 parking spaces, now we have 6 parking. As the front, we had concerns about the paving and all that. We're keeping the front basically grassed. It will do the plantings and all that. As for the snow removal, as you can see on the plan, the snow removal is it 10 feet around the perimeter of the property, as you can see. In the back storage, somebody had a concern of the snow storage. That's 20 feet. And for the parking, if we have to do a retaining wall to bring up the slope in the back, we'll do whatever we have to do to make that work.
Okay, so you've updated this plan clearly, and I see we got a rendering as well. Is that it? Is that about the size?
That's about the concerns you guys pretty much presented to us, and I think we addressed them as well as we could for what we have there to work with.
And, all right, I will hold my questions and let the board start first. So we'll start down there with you, Bob.
Now, you changed from 8 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms,
Correct,
and you've got 6 parking spaces.
correct.
And my only question is, where, if these people have guests, where are they going to park? Have you provided for that at all, any place, or, like, I'm looking at this little bit of hot top on the driveway in the, before you have your extension. Is that going to stay?
The hot top as you come in the driveway?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to repave that,
So you're going to leave that there as hot top?
yes.
So we can call that a guest parking space then, right?
It would work.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, I appreciate what you did. I took a ride out there Sunday, and I really went to the back of the house, and Jesus, how are they going to get parking back here? But I see you did.
Yeah, it was pretty, it come out good. I thought it come out very good. For what we had, we couldn't do it in the front. The front wasn't going to work with
Yeah.
that connection. You can't do it.
Well, the street's too busy anyway.
Yeah,
for
and
that.
then we can turn around, we've got plenty of turnaround space so they can come out facing, driving into the traffic instead of backing into it.
Where's the driveway going to be? Along the addition?
No, right comes right.
Right
Right
coming,
between them, Bob.
right where the existing is, basically.
Oh, all right, you're going to have, I got it. You're going to have
Right
like
where
a
the connection,
carport or
you'll see
something.
that.
Yeah.
I got it, yeah. I think you really enhance the value of this property, too,
That's going to look
by
nice.
doing this. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
I don't really have any questions. I'll save my comments, but this is a much better plan. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Ken?
No questions. Good job on the changes, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
No questions, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And Ken?
No questions.
And Corinne?
I just have one. I think the new design is a much better plan. I still worry about cars coming in and off Sylvan Street, and I'm wondering, since Mr. Lee also owns the property that is behind where your property is, if he could give your property an easement, so those drivers, instead of having to enter and exit on Sylvan Street, could just go out the back, through his parking lot, and exit and enter that way. That way, you wouldn't have to worry about people being on Sylvan Street, trying to take a left and backing up the traffic.
I can't answer that for him.
I mean, is he here tonight?
He's right over here.
Good evening, Jeremy Lee. from
Please
Lee-
remove your mask if you could.
Oh, okay. Jeremy Lee, Lee Realty Trust. The existing house has never had an issue with exiting onto Sylvan Street as it is already. I think if it would actually improve their accessibility, being able to pull out forward. Right now, there's been room for up to 3 cars there, and they'd have to back out. And trust me, I have to plow that property. It's no fun backing out. I think the improvements these gentlemen have done are going to make it much safer to pull straight out. An easement would impact our commercial property in the back. It would also create an encroachment if we were going to sell that property. Now you're putting an easement on that property, so.
Well, I mean, I agree, it's never great to have an easement on your property, but again, you're going from 1 or 2 cars in a single house to 6 cars in a two-family. So again, all it takes is like 1 or 2 cars on that road trying to make the left at rush hour, trying to get into their driveway, and it would just back up traffic all the way up Sylvan Street when they could just drive straight right out of their parking lot, right out of their parking space into your parking lot and out, and there wouldn't be an issue at all. So,
Yeah, that's it.
it's just a
Interesting
suggestion.
idea.
Other questions, Corinne?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you. I guess I just want to understand, so the carport pretty much is acting as the connection between the two buildings, which allows this to be considered one structure?
Yes, we discussed it with Rich Maloney. He's reviewed it, and he thought it was a great
Yeah,
solution.
I agree. I just want to make sure I'm clear. So that's,
Yes,
so that is
that will be,
replacing,
that is what makes the connection.
and that's replacing what I think was like a small closet or something you had before,
A shed.
with a shed, and it was
Correct.
only for one of the properties.
And
So,
then, once we got rid of that, we opened up the parking. Without that, the parking doesn't, it will never work.
and what is that distance from building to building? I see 12 foot to a red line.
16 feet,
It's 16?
yeah, building to building.
And you mentioned landscaping, which, again, this doesn't go into site review, so we're kind of acting as both boards here. I see some landscaping around the back, which is not existing, correct? Where you show snow storage?
No, there's some trees there lining, there's probably 6 to 8 of them, I didn't get a
So
count.
those are existing?
Those are existing. We're going to try to save them. They're large brush bushes.
Okay, so my question to you is, what landscaping have we added, particularly to the front?
The front ones, we added the beds. We'll have plantings in the front, bushes, your routine, what we do for our landscaping.
But
Mulch
they're not
beds.
shown on this plan?
No.
Okay, so would you take that as a condition that there's a landscaping detail?
Yeah, if that works for you, works for us.
Well, again, we're going to agree to this plan. This plan doesn't show any landscaping.
Yeah, easy.
Okay, that's good enough for me. Any additional questions from the board?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Are you going to have any exterior lighting or anything like that?
Exterior, we'll have it on the...
You know, like lighting poles like they have in parking lots?
No, no,
Nothing like that?
No.
Whatever you're going to have is going to be on the house, right?
correct. We'll have it, so we will light up from the one house, you'll have the coming in so you can see lights as you drive through the portico.
Okay.
Motion sensors if necessary, but sometimes they're not what you need because you got cars vibrating, they'll set them off from the street.
I suppose you've got enough lighting from that parking lot and back anyway.
Should be enough.
Yeah. I have no other questions.
Thank you, Bob. Corinne, did I see you had a question?
No.
No. I'll go out to the audience. Anybody here on 150 Sylvan Street? Hearing none, we'll come back to the board for deliberations. Bob?
I like the improvement. They've got a parking space for each bedroom. I think it enhances the, I think it looks better than what you first proposed.
That definitely does.
And I will vote for this.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
Bob. Becky?
The property is in very poor condition, so this is a tremendous improvement, I think, for Sylvan Street. I like the new plan. I think there's enough parking, and I think there's enough room to turn around in the back so you can come out straight, which I think is, they don't have to back onto Sylvan Street, which is great. With regard to John's comments on the landscaping, I mean, they're going to be selling these units. I'm sure they're going to landscape them. They're not. They're going to look good, and we know the quality of
Yeah,
your.
we do it all the time.
I would vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Ken?
Thank you. Yes, I like the changes. I'm kind of glad you went to the 3 bedrooms. I think that was a good move. I will vote for this.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I think the new plan's far superior, and I will vote for it.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken?
I like the carport feature, where you
Yeah.
can actually drive-through to the back. That's pretty neat. I would vote for this, too.
Thank you, Jeff, and Corinne.
I just think it's too many cars on that street to be pulling out, so I will not vote for this.
Thank you, Corinne. I, too, think it's a much better design. I think about buildings in town, and I really don't think I've seen one that's got a carport that connects two structures together, so this is kind of unique, and I think it's a nice look. I guess I'll yield to Becky on the landscaping. I hope you just do the right thing, so I won't make it a condition.
No, we'll be back. We can.
But I think,
More than Danvers to do.
I think of the properties on, I guess it's Prince Street, or the two houses they put on the corner there, and they're just barren to the street, and to me, that's just not a great look. So, however, you do have the votes, and if somebody could make a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the dimensional variance from Section 7, Table 2 of the Danvers zoning bylaws to allow the construction of a two-family dwelling on a lot 3,792 square feet of the required 15,000 square feet is in the C3 zoning district. The hardship is the size and shape of the lot, the location of the existing house on the lot, and the split zoning in the area.
I'll second. I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Good luck.
I
Opposed. Corinne.
Thank you, people.
Good luck.
Thank you.
See, Rich, folks, we'll take a couple of minutes to just wipe down the mics.
Hey, no problem. How are you? John, yes, I remember.
see Mark and Krista.
Sometimes.
This neighborhood's R2.
I know.
It looks R1 to me when you drive in it.
Yeah, it's,
Everything's tight. No.
That's where the butcher used to be.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
yeah,
Long time ago.
they had to fight.
Yeah, because he doesn't meet the side setbacks anyway.
David, you're up.
Jana?
You ready?
I'm just going to give Rich one more second. Okay.
So this is just a finding? Correct.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next case is Michael Perham, docket 20-4873, requesting a finding to add rear addition to an existing one-car garage in accordance with 3.11.1A and B of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 16 Donegal Circle. This is zoned R2.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening. My name is Mike Perham. I live at 16 Donegal Circle. Back in 2014, I was in front of the board. I did an addition, garage addition to my house. Unfortunately, I didn't go big enough or deep enough, I should say. So I'd like to add 8.5 feet to it so I can get 2 cars into the garage. I now have 2 kids driving as well, so it just makes it a little bit easier to have a couple cars disappear. I prepared some plans. I talked to my neighbor directly to my left. He had no issues with it, and The plans I prepared, I tried to give some photographs on how actually the garage addition would sort of stop his view of my back patio from his new second floor addition that they did a couple years ago. So I'm just requesting a finding to add about 8.5 feet to the back.
So you're just looking to add on to an existing structure, you're staying within the footprint that currently exists?
No, I'm adding 8.5 feet to the back.
Sorry, the side setback.
That's
something
correct.
changed.
Yes, actually, because of the property lines at an angle, it actually gets a little bit wider
see.
in the back. The height of everything, it's a flat roof, and that will just be maintained.
Okay. That's about it.
That's about it.
Okay, thank you. In driving in your neighborhood, I'm really surprised it's zoned R2, because it looks like most of the houses don't meet R2 setbacks. Anyways, we'll start over there with you, Karen.
I do not have any questions.
Thank you. And Ken?
So you're pretty much keeping the same side setback, what, for maybe an inch, couple inches, it looks like?
It's actually getting wider. It's
Getting a little wider, right?
It's 8.2 in the front, which originally, when I came in 2014, it was going to be about 7.5 feet. When we actually built it, it ended up being 8.2. It's going to be 9 feet at that rear corner and get
Okay.
a little bit wider on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not getting worse. All right.
Correct. Yeah.
That's all I get.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
Very thorough application, nice pictures, I have no questions.
Thank you. And Ken?
Thank you. So I take it you're just going to put the double doors on the back of the new addition? So the double doors will be there again?
Correct, yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Becky?
And just confirming there's no height increase over what's,
Correct. Yes, it will be exactly the same height.
okay, no further questions.
Thank you, Becky. And Bob?
So you're doing this because you can't fit 2 cars in the one you have, is that it?
Right, I made it, originally, when I built it, I was thinking car and storage. I have since put a shed in the back right corner of the yard, and so, yeah, it'd be nice to get 2 cars.
Okay, so it'll be in tandem, one in back of the other?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, and do you have an exit door on the addition?
Yes, right now, there's an exit door in the back right
In the,
of the garage.
yeah.
There's right now
Oh, I see, so you can just walk in the addition?
that's right. Yeah, you can walk inside the house as well as the backyard from the garage.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Bob. And, yeah, thorough application. I wish we got them all this way. I don't have any questions. We'll go out to the audience. Anybody here on 16 Donegal Circle? Hearing none, we'll come back to the board for deliberations. And Karen?
I will vote for this.
Thank you. Ken?
I would vote for this, too.
And Joe?
I will vote for this.
Ken?
I have no problem with this. I'll vote for it.
I'll vote for this.
And Bob?
I also will vote for it.
I too will vote for this. And again, if I could get a motion.
I move that we grant the finding according to section 311.1 A and B of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow the garage addition as shown on the plan submitted. We find that the proposed addition as shown on the plans increases the nonconformity.
Second.
I got a motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Part 2?
The proposed addition as shown on the plans is not substantially more detrimental than what currently exists.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on.
Moving on.
I do.
John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next case is Mark Spear, docket 20-4874, appealing the building inspector's decision regarding a variance from April 7th, 1975, docket 0-1025, in accordance with Danvers zoning bylaws at 55 Wenham Street. Mr. Chair, we are in receipt of a letter from the Department of Code Administration. Dear Mr. Spear, this office has received nuisance complaints regarding the storage of materials, trailers, contractors' equipment, and the accessing of those materials at 55 Wenham Street. In researching the complaint, this office relied on the Danvers Zoning Board of Appeals docket 0-1025, a copy of which is enclosed, that allows commercial activity under certain conditions and specific locations at this property. It appears that a contractor's yard is set up on the property in the southeast corner of the lot. This is in violation of 2 of the conditions of the variance cited above. 2, that the premise be used as a base for business operations. 3, that the outside storage be limited to 2.5 times the floor area of the cement block building, provided that all storage is behind the building and not visible from Wenham Street. The violations must be abated. You have 30 days from the date of receipt of this letter to comply with this order, or further legal action will be taken. You have the right to appeal this order to the Danvers Zoning Board of Appeals within 30 days from the receipt of this letter in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8 and 15. If you need further information regarding this matter, please do not hesitate to contact this office. Signed, Richard P. Maloney, Inspector of Buildings.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Peter Arviditis. I'm an attorney. I have law offices at 7 Essex
If you
Green
could just
Drive.
speak up a little and more into that
We
mic.
can't hear you.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I am an attorney with law offices at 7 Essex Green Drive in Peabody. I'm here tonight with Mark Spear, and I'm representing him in connection with this administrative appeal. The history of this property, I hope the board is familiar with. It was formerly farming land, a farm, and in 1975, the owner of the property, who was Mr. Spear's grandfather, obtained a use variance for the property. And the terms of the variance are spelled out in the document that's attached to the building inspector's letter. There was an appeals court case decision that came down in 2010, which essentially says that the restrictions on the use of this property in the residential district are set forth in the words of the variance itself. And correctly, I think Mr. Maloney cited the words of the variance as his basis for stating that there were violations of those provisions. Specifically, the area to be used for outside storage is limited to 2.5 times the square footage of the building. I assume you're familiar with the building in question. It's a 1 story in part and 2 stories toward one end. The area of the building comes to 6,080 square feet. 2.5 times that is 15,200 square feet. The best we can tell, the outside storage, however located on this site behind 55 Wenham Street, is much less than 15,200 square feet. And that would be the first point we would like to make. The second point is, and maybe more importantly, the building inspector cited the violation of the provision of the variance that the premises not be used as a base of operations for a business. There are 4 renters currently that have relationships with Mr. Spear who rent space either in the barn or outside in the outside storage areas. Each one of them has a home office or a main office somewhere other than 55 Wenham Street. The variance itself doesn't define what base of operations means, so we have to turn to the dictionary, Merriam-Webster. And Merriam-Webster tells us that a base of operations is a home office or a main office. Each one of the owners of these businesses conducts business from their offices, and I think I've indicated in the documents that I filed where they are located, none of which are at 55 Wenham Street. They entertain proposals from customers. They advertise from those locations. They negotiate terms of contracts from those locations, their home offices. They conclude terms, they prepare and send out contracts and proposals, they send out invoices, they receive payments, they muster employees or contractors to work on the various projects that they're involved in, all of which takes place at some place other than 55 Wenham Street. And I would submit to you that there can be no base of operations under those circumstances at 55 Wenham. The variance limits the use of the property by these people to storage of materials and equipment. And materials are defined as things from which other things can be made, and equipment are the implements from which those things are done. That's the definition. And we would submit that whatever is going on up there fits within that. So we are storing materials, we are storing equipment. The loading and unloading is also limited by the terms of the variance to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And to the extent that that's not being followed, Mr. Spear would do whatever he can. I'm not sure that there's any allegation that it's not being followed, but just wanted to bring that point up. And there's a question as to whether or not any of the outside storage is behind the barn. And I think it can be fairly argued that since it's not directly behind the barn, some of it is kind of to the rear of the barn, but off to the side. Specifically, the business known as T&T Excavation. I think you've been up there. There is stone, wall material, gravel, perhaps some excavating equipment. I spoke to the owner recently, and most of that equipment is usually on a construction site and not at the location at 55 Wenham Street. But to the extent that that needs to be moved directly behind the barn, that can be done. And if that's done, then unless we differ as to what a base of operations is, we really can't change how they do their business. The variance allows them to store materials and equipment and to load and unload and retrieve those things Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Variance requires that nothing be visible from Wenham Street, and even now, the only thing visible from Wenham Street is a bucket truck that's owned by the excavating company that's partially viewable from behind a fence and a stand of trees, but that can be remedied as well. And although it's not something that the building inspector cited, I understand that there's a question of traffic and/or noise at the site. There is another property in that general area, 41, I think, Wenham Street, and they have a similar situation, and I think they're also the beneficiary of a variance that allows certain non-residential uses on those
Well,
premises.
we're not here on the other property, though.
No, I understand, but, well, then I'm not going to, I won't bring up the question. I'm anticipating that might be a question about traffic. And to the extent that he can control the 4 people that rent from him, it's going to be 3, by the way. There's a tree service, North Shore Tree Experts. They're going to be leaving within 2 weeks. So we're going to have Agway of Danvers, Hayborn Builders, and both of those 2 are substantially within the barn. The only one that is a problem, apparently, from outside storage point of view, is T&T Excavating, and we can have them within a couple of weeks move everything directly behind the barn, and certainly within any footprint that would be delineated by 2.5 times the square footage of the floor area of the building.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, you're saying one of the tenants is leaving in
Yes.
2 weeks? And you plan to shift one of your other tenants to a kind of more obscure site
Behind the building.
that
yeah.
keeps their equipment out of sight of the street?
Yes.
Okay. I think, I mean, the package is pretty extensive, and we're all, I think, pretty versed on the zoning decision from 1975. As detailed as it is, it's, it's very different from what we see today. But I would like to go out to the building inspector just to find out how we're at the point we're at right now. Rich, if you don't mind.
Sure. Even though 41 is the other property in question here, and...
41, you said?
41 Wenham Street. We're owned by the same family, and they still might be related to some extent, but we're dealing with them differently. And so they've both been cooperative. We're getting a lot of complaints, and we feel I'm just going to go into 41, but because it's important, 41 may have, the people that use that building may have outlived the conditions on that variance. And part of the problem here is that we don't disagree on some of the details here, is they are allowed 2.5 times the storage of the building outside. So I believe if he can get that behind the barn, that square footage, 2.5 times what the barn is, I agree that he can have it out there. And I think one of the issues here is they share the driveway. So if Mr. Spear can get his tenants to use his driveway and stay off of 41, that's going to solve some of the problem. And then 41 is considering either, they got to comply with the zoning variance that they have, or they're going to have to come back here, like 55 has come back here, to at least appeal, or we'll see what happens on 41, but...
Okay, well, it seems like we can get to an agreeable point here. However, you're here asking us to overturn a decision on the building inspector. So we'll ask questions based on that.
Well, yeah, I may ask you to continue this for a couple of weeks to see if we can get all this stuff moved. Maybe
Well,
eliminate the problem.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, if that gets us to a place where we can all get along. I just, I guess I just look at, the 2 points that the building inspector made. Sounds like the building inspector is fine with this shift in the operation there. And an additional point would be the driveway use of 55 versus 41 Wenham. And Rich, are you satisfied as far as business operations as you detailed in your letter?
There's somebody standing up out there, too.
Yeah, I mean, the
There's
audience,
somebody standing
there are certainly abutters here that want to be heard, so that's...
Yeah, no, we'll go through that, but I just want to...
No, like he said, there's a letter of the 75 variance, so as I read it, he does have 2.5 times storage outside the building. It's got to be, my interpretation is it's behind the building as I look at the building. So I would take the corners of that building and go straight back, and that's the land I would interpret to be used, where you can't see it from Wenham Street, it's behind the building. So I think we can agree on that. And the hours of operation are 7 to 5, Monday through Friday, we can agree on that. So if we can get to a point where we're living by the 75 variance, that's important. I think, let's see what the butters have to say, and...
Yeah, okay, so I still we're going to go through the board before I go to the audience, though. So Bob, you'd like to see this continue?
Well, I'm going to hold my questions until we see if this gets settled. What's the point in asking a lot of questions? So right now, I have no questions.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
And I only have a comment that if they come back here, this just really doesn't do it for me. I need a site plan, because there's 2 buildings there, there's driveways,
Yeah,
there's land.
there's a lot going on, yeah.
I can't make a decision based on,
There's 2 buildings, but I only own 1.
I'm sorry.
There's 2 buildings, but I only own 1.
I think I included a map, I included a better plan in my package.
The one we got tonight?
The one I handed out tonight shows the 2 properties with the
Okay.
property line.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess if we're talking about changing driveways and,
No, we're not,
This
all we're
used to be
doing...
all one property.
Yep.
okay,
It used to be my grandfather's farm, and it was subdivided 50 years ago,
yeah,
and that's where the variance came into effect.
okay,
Mr. Spears, if you could remove your mask and talk to the mic.
okay, all right.
Okay.
That's fine, that's all I have.
Thank you, Becky. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you agree that this variance is 0-1025 is on the barn? Correct?
The block structure.
75
Yes.
variance? It's on the barn, correct?
You can call it a barn, we call it a
It's
barn.
about the barn.
Yes, correct.
That's the only question.
And
Thank you.
the area
I'll save
outside,
everything else for
and the
Carl.
area outside behind the barn.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
It's about the barn, but it's also about the area outside.
Right.
Well, that's an interpretation, I believe. I mean,
Well, the variance allows outside storage, it's necessarily outside of the barn.
outside the barn.
Yes.
This isn't outside the barn, not my...
Whether it's behind the barn or not is debatable, but we
Well, I
can...
think
That's what I'm saying about an interpretation.
Yeah, I think that's the gray area we're trying to solve.
But we agree that, we'll go with that and move it behind the barn.
Okay, I'm good with that, too. Jeff?
I'm good right now.
Thank you. Ken?
I have no questions right now.
And Corinne?
I would like to hear what the abutters have to say.
Sure. Okay, I don't have any additional questions. I visited the property. Just to be clear to abutters that are going to speak, so we are deciding whether or not to uphold the building inspector's decision on this property, whether to overturn it on an appeal. The applicant, however, has stated that they are in the middle of making adjustments, most likely asking for a continuance tonight. So I would say keep that in mind as we move forward. So anybody from the public that would like to be heard on 55 Wenham Street, if you could come down and identify yourself.
Good evening, Board. My name's Kevin James. I live at 39 Wenham Street with my wife and 3 daughters. This matter has been going on for about 2 years now, wherein I have tried repeatedly to speak to Mr. Spears about the noise and activity on his lot. We are adjacent, or we are abutters to the lot. It is not merely just a matter of where the square footage exists and where his actual operations take place. It is downright noisy to the point where we can feel vibrations going through our property. It started off with one truck. I reached out to Mr. Spears on a couple of occasions, very civilly. Nothing was done. One truck turned into 3 trucks, and this was a tree cutting business. They would idle the trucks for half an hour, not just on Monday through Friday, but also Saturday and Sunday. That's how my wife and I woke up. That persisted, despite and notwithstanding several phone calls to Mr. Spears asking him to merely tell his tenants to not run their vehicles. Right about February of this year, things escalated tenfold. T&T Construction came in. Okay, now that's clearly taken this variance, which was once a barn. I understand Mr. Spears has to make use of his property, and he had a hardship back in '75, and the board that sat, just like you people are sitting right here, heard the Spears family out and said, okay, let's give you a variance, take the brick barn, and you can make some money doing other things. I don't think in 1975 they envisioned, as Mr. Maloney would characterize this lot, as a construction yard. Okay, they were talking about maybe landscaping with just gasoline trucks. We now have diesel trucks. We have Caterpillars. We have back-end loaders. Okay, and when the attachments go on and off, when you take a 1,500-pound attachment shovel and you transfer it to a plow shovel or a grader shovel, you can hear that probably a quarter mile away. Mind you, we are about 150 yards away. It is just constant all the time. Mr. Averidas makes reference to the 2.5 times the barn for the outside. That's not our issue. The issue is Mr. Spears chose to take this property where he had the variance, the permitted use, and put it on the southeast side, which is farthest from where his children sleep and closest to where my family sleeps. And he did this intentionally. Secondly, there's wetlands in the back. He has encroached upon the wetlands, Your Honor, and he's in trouble with the Conservation Commission for doing so. That is another intentional act, a volitional act, something not done by inadvertence. There's a
All right, well, just to be clear, this board doesn't have any evidence of that, and the building inspector did not cite him for that.
Georgia Pendergrass from the Conservation Commission did in fact cite him for that.
Well, we don't have that in front of us.
That
so-
I understand. The borderline between my lot and his lot, or 41 and 55 respectively, is probably about 45 feet of wood line. They have eroded that wood line, which makes more noise because we have less trees to buffer the sound. So what I don't want is this board to think that there are some kind of meaningful remedial measures that are going to take place within a week.
So your main issue has been noise and equipment, not so much the storage of material there, but it's about the noise and the comings and goings with vehicles, sounds like. And it's pretty disruptive.
It's pretty disruptive, it's more expensive than that. What I want to convey to the board is, Your Honor, he could take it from the southeast, which is right near my property, and put his T&T construction on the east side where it belongs, pursuant to the 1975 variance, and it's still going to be detrimental to all the property owners in that area. And that's a big problem that we have. Mr. Avarides seems to take the convenient position of Merriam-Webster dictionary to say that somehow, we have to rely on that in order to figure out whether it's a business operation. But you know what? If you look at the context of the 1975 deliberations, you can tell what the board was thinking. And they weren't thinking, let's have a construction site with diesel trucks and T&T construction and all sorts of stuff like that, Your Honor. I think the board really had in mind the welfare of the property owners, the surrounding property owners, and whether they could coexist. Okay? But to come in here and say, well, geez, it's a business operation, and there's no definition, so therefore we get to go to Webster's dictionary and define it. That's not accurate, and that's not how we interpret laws, statutes, and regulations in Massachusetts. I know that there's other board or other abutters and neighbors that want to be heard, Your Honor, so I'm going to close at this point in time. I thank the board for the time this evening.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Spears, how about that? I mean, I know there's a Massachusetts idle law of 5 minutes. That seems like an easy one that could be enforced on your tenants. Is that something that you've brought up to any of your tenants?
Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know that law. I mean,
Okay, well, your direct abutter's telling you that he's hearing trucks idling for 30 minutes. I know the law exists because I used to live downtown Danvers, and, that seems like something we could easily solve.
that, I can easily solve that.
And how about the suggestion of moving the operation of where it is now further away from this gentleman's property?
Right, it's going to go behind the barn, and he was claiming there was a lot of noise with T&T excavating. He
Right.
did some jackhammering. There was a lot of ledge back there. I live on ledge. There was a big boulder, and he jackhammered it out. It took him a week to do it.
Yeah.
I put a foundation in my house, or a patio behind my house, and he jackhammered for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just...
Well, again, this board doesn't live there, right? We can only go on what abutters are telling us. This gentleman says it's 2 years, and, 30-minute idling would drive me bananas. So I would say just keep that in mind. I think you've answered my question. Anyone else want to be heard here on 55 Wenham Street? Seeing no other,
Yeah,
or did I?
see it.
I'm sorry, it's hard to see you, so.
His lights are bright.
Yeah, come on down and just identify yourself, and please speak into the mic and remove your mask.
Good evening. My name's Greg Druin. I live at 36 Wenham Street, just across the way from this property. I've lived there for close to 30 years. When we first started, there were a couple of businesses doing things,
Talk louder.
Yeah, just a little louder.
So when I first got here, there was much less going on across the street. In the last, I'd say, like 3 years, suddenly with the tree services, I used to see 2 tree services with at least 6 large vehicles, very loud, coming and going at all times, all the weekend. And then when this excavating came in, it's really very loud. When he loads his trucks, it wakes people up. It's huge. I don't know when they load the excavator, a really large excavator onto the thing, it's like an explosion. People come out of their houses. I mean, the whole street was out. I went over and talked to the excavator guy, and he said he had no idea what I was talking about. It's just exploded, the use there. And there's overnight parking. I'm not sure how many trucks are supposed to be allowed to, park overnight. And I think that's kind of like the base of operations, maybe, that they were talking with. If they wanted a base operation that was going to be their offices, that would be great, because we wouldn't have the kind of noise that we're having now. It's really disruptive. And I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else here on 55 Wenham? Yep, come on up. If you could, just real close to that microphone so we can hear you.
Can you hear me? No.
Closer.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Okay. Hi, my name's Lisa Rizzo. I live at 37. I'm 2 properties away.
37 Wenham?
Yes,
Thank you.
37 Wenham. I've lived there for 29 years. We've always had, I don't have any prepared remarks, so forgive me if I don't.
That's okay.
So it's always been a lovely neighborhood, great neighbors, and we enjoy living, a rural kind of life in a nice suburban neighborhood. And in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years, the activity of 18-wheelers and pounding and backup beepers all morning. I mean, it started originally at 6:30 in the morning, and you would wake up to this and think, well, they'll be on their way, and they were there all day, and at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, I've gone over and spoken to the tree service man, and he's lovely. I don't have a problem with him. It's allowing this to continue has totally impacted the quality of our lives. And a disrespect and a disregard for your neighbors and your property is really not how I want to live in my neighborhood that I've been in for 28 years, 29 years. So I would hope that you could do something about it, because conversation doesn't work. So, thank you.
Very good, thanks. Anyone else here on 55 Wenham Street? Okay, am I missing anybody?
No, I don't see.
No.
Okay, Mrs. Spears, so, I mean, clearly, we've kind of opened a can of worms here. The building inspector is citing you on a couple things, but 3 abutters have come up, clearly with a lot of noise complaints. I get that they're your tenants. However, and I know you're going to ask for a continuance and maybe make some changes here, but I don't know if those changes address the noise of your tenants. And, the only way I see that getting solved is you. It's surprising to me you're not aware of the Massachusetts general law about 5-minute idling, because trucks, big trucks, even have 5-minute timers on them where they automatically shut off, so they can't idle more than 5 minutes. I can just imagine if I was a neighbor, having to listen to excavators and things of this nature getting loaded on and off of flatbeds or whatever. I can see where the issues lie. So I'm not sure where, I like the changes you're suggesting here about the storage and things of this nature, but I don't know how that addresses the noise. So if you could maybe enlighten not only your abutters, but this board as to what we think we can do to address that.
First of all, what I heard was
Into the mic if you
what I
could.
heard was that a major source of the noise was the tree company. And I also heard that the excavating company was, but initially Mr. James and then the person that followed him had some complaints about the tree company. And they're going to be leaving. So
Well, I heard 3 and 4 years. So this isn't just in the last 6 months. It sounds like this has been a problem for the neighbors for the last 4 years.
Well, the last woman that spoke, Mr. Spear, will tell you, has never spoken to him. Is that correct?
She's never spoken to me about anything.
Well, it sounds like she's gone right to your tenants, though.
The tree
And she
company-
even said they're lovely people, but
Right.
I get it. They're just trying to work,
They're all lovely
but
people. I mean, the tree company's been there for a year. T&T's been there for almost 19 years, and he doesn't start work till after 8:30. Yeah, I'll admit, I hired him to dig out some ledge on my property. Yeah, jackhammering after 8:30 in the morning. The ordinance allows me to do it after 7. I'm not going to disagree with him there. I mean,
again,
Where did I
I
go
think
wrong?
you're talking about isolated incidents, and what I'm hearing from abutters is a pattern.
Well, let me just address what the TNT excavation does. Mr. Chris Giannoulis is the owner, and I was able to obtain, Mr. Spear obtained for me affidavits only this weekend from all the owners. T&T has 2 dump trucks, a small one and a larger one, but no, we don't have 18-wheelers. These are very small, 6, 10-yard dump trucks. And what they do is they load those trucks with the materials that are on the site, gravel, stone, mixed waste. No doubt it does. And they do it within the hours that the material and the equipment is allowed to be loaded and unloaded. To the extent that Mark Spear can affect how they do their loading and unloading, he will do everything he can to do that. In terms of idling, I don't know that T&T is the problem with idling trucks. And if they are, then they will be asked to stop, and I'm sure they will.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't think the neighbors are here to gang up on you. I think they're just speaking their conscience. They're looking for peaceful enjoyment while they're home. So I won't beat a dead horse here. I believe we talked about a continuance to get these other items in order, but I would ask that we do something about the noise and how operations, even within the 1975 variance, maybe can better affect the neighborhood. So
Can I ask
that's just my input. Yeah, go ahead, Becky.
Of the building inspector. So this says 2.5 times the floor area of the cement block building for outside storage. When we talk about outside storage, does that include vehicles?
Well, everything relied on that 75 variance and the meeting minutes to it, so it's not, I would say that's what I tell this board all the time, is you want to be specific and cite things specifically when you write a decision, because we're left trying to interpret old zoning decisions with one piece of paper in them. If this was before you now, we'd have a certified plot plan, we'd have identified areas specifically.
Right.
So we're kind of left with a vague decision in the words in that decision.
Okay, because when I went there were trucks parked. In addition to the storage, there were trucks.
Yeah, multiple vehicles.
Yeah.
Variance states materials and equipment.
Yeah.
Trucks are equipment.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Spears, I think we're trying to get to a place where everybody can be happy, right? And I just think that you got to, and maybe if you are going to do some excavating or jackhammering thing, a better approach would be to notify the neighbors too. So, again, I don't live in the
agree, but
neighborhood.
if
I'm
you were
just
my
listening
neighbor
to what I hear.
And you had to do some landscaping, and you had to dig up some dirt, and you had an excavator come in, and at 7:30 in the morning, where it's legal, in Danvers, you're
I got it, but they're
jackhammering.
talking about a 4-year span. We're not talking about one
It's
event
not.
here.
They'd have a permit anyways,
John.
if somebody was
It's
doing
not,
that.
yeah. We live
Okay,
in a
so
quiet
I'm going to
neighborhood.
cut off the discussion now. Ken has a comment.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make a determination here based on a 75 variance, 1975, which states for a business operation, and you stated a quote out of a Webster's dictionary. Well, because the tree company and the excavating company has a home office downtown, or whatever it is, doesn't mean they're not conducting business there. They are. They're conducting business.
Comment.
So that's my comment on that.
All right, so,
Can I make a comment?
yeah, go ahead, Ken.
So it looks like it looks like the way it reads, it's for unloading materials and equipment, but it doesn't really say storing big trucks and equipment. So it's more like, to me, this reads like raw materials, like pickup trucks and other trucks picking up raw materials and other small pieces of equipment and moving them in and out, but not storing big excavators and stuff like that. That's the way it looks like to me from this 1975.
The excavators that T&T owns are not big. They're not the big ones that you're thinking of. They're very small.
Well, I went back there, and there was some pretty massive-looking trucks and some other equipment that would look pretty big.
Okay, I mean, we could debate this all night, right? Our interpretation versus your interpretation. I think where we want to get to is, you've proposed a couple of changes that are going to happen on your property. I believe you're asking for a continuance, and our next meeting is September 28th, do I have that correct, Kathleen? So we could continue to September 28th. I don't believe we need anything, board, ahead of that, in the way of drawings or anything. So, again, I would just ask that you know, try to hammer out the noise part of it. Again, I don't think it's one-time event. The neighbors aren't talking about one-time events. They're talking about periods. One said 2 years, one said 3 years, one said 4 years. I get it. You're trying to run businesses there, but with a lot of stipulations written into that 75 agreement. So I think just in the interest of having a harmonious neighborhood, we just need to find a way to kind of get to a better spot. So, are we good with the continuance?
One last comment, if I may.
All right, I'll go. Go ahead. Identify yourself again, please.
Kevin James from 39 Wenham Street. I just wanted to address one last issue. I have in my possession 2 thumb drives depicting all the noise, all the activity. A picture is worth 1,000 words. What I would like, whereas we're going to continue this matter to September 28th, is leave from this board so I can put you on notice and supply you with the 2 thumb drives I have so we can clarify all the factual disputes.
Well, I don't think anyone's disputing what you're claiming, so I don't think that's necessary. I don't think the board needs that. I believe you.
We believe you.
We believe you. So we're trying to get to a place where Mr. Spears can work this out with his tenants, make the necessary changes that were highlighted by the building inspector, but also, because noise isn't one of them on our complaint here, on this appeal, but I think Mr. Spears will certainly look to render this problem. So, and I would advise you to bone up on the 5-minute idle law. That's a police matter. If there's vehicles over there, you can call the police.
I've called the police, Your Honor, and they no longer come out to the property.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Becky.
Could you say that
If they
again?
don't find anything, that's why.
Well, come on. Let's see if we can work this out, right?
Ask Mr. Maloney, how many reports have you got and received?
Yeah, but he wouldn't get them, so I'm not going to put that on Mr. Maloney. You know, he could go on every property in town and find a problem, right? So, I'm sorry, Becky, go ahead.
No. I was just going to comment that we've had this issue in other places in town.
Yep.
With Lowe's and the kind
Right.
of complex.
Yep.
It's not really a matter of, for us.
It's not a zoning matter.
A noise ordinance or noise is not a matter for us necessarily. And we have advised those property owners to call the police.
Right. I mean, it's something simple as like trash pickup in town. Trash pickup's not allowed prior to 7 a.m., but trash companies will try to pick up as early as they can. Well, that's an enforceable matter with the police department, so.
But certainly, we have a base of business operation as well, Your Honor. And certainly, the videos I have depict comings and goings 7 days a week, well
Okay.
outside the variance.
Well, Mr. Spears is on notice about it, and he's going to try to address that, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
I have one quick thing to say.
Yep, okay, Corinne.
It was mentioned that the Conservation Commission had a hearing about this property as well. I think it might be in our interest to get a copy of that and read
Yeah,
it.
if there is something from that.
It wasn't a hearing, it was a notice, a violation
There is
notice.
a hearing on the 24th.
There's a hearing on
There's-
the 20th.
I spoke with the agent, the Conservation Commission. There was just a letter that he received. There's never been a hearing.
So is the hearing, upcoming hearing on that?
It's a hearing, it's very preliminary, and
Okay.
and what they wanted us to do, because they didn't have the wetlands mapped at this site, so they don't really know where the wetland is and where the 100-foot buffer is, or any of that.
So that's an ongoing matter currently?
They've asked Mr. Spear to get an environmental engineer to map the wetland so it can be available to the Concom to look at, to determine whether or not any of the activity on this site.
Okay.
is
And
within
again, that
area.
matter's not before us, so.
No, I understand, but you asked
Well,
the question.
But it could impact where we want them
Sure, but it
to
hasn't
move
been,
stuff around.
correct.
Because we might be telling them to do something that's going to violate the Conservation Commission order.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just...
So if any information is available on that, if it can come into code administration.
Where T&T's things are now, the materials and equipment, that is closest to the wetland. If that is all moved behind the barn, I think that would end the wetland issue for TNT.
Okay.
Okay.
I make a motion that we continue to
I second it.
28.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll see you on September
28th.
28th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
board members.
James,
Okay. Give us a couple minutes to just wipe down.
I got the, I'll send it. Yeah, no problem.
Look at that, David, oh, man. 2 hands.
He's getting the job.
Thanks, Bob.
Dave, we good? Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next case is Carlos Pinto Jr., docket 20-4875, requesting a variance, special permit, and finding to convert an existing structure to a two-family. Erect a second floor. The existing is 6 foot 8 inches from the property line. New addition will be the same in accordance with 30.2.4 Section C, 30.2.4 A, B, and D, and 3.11.1 A and B of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 73 Poplar Street. This is zoned R1.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You Mr. Pinto?
Carlos Pinto, owner of 73 Poplar Street.
Okay, if you could just move that mic real close, because we're having a hard time hearing. Or I am, anyway.
Yeah.
Just requesting a variance to add to existing structure to convert to two-family, and also finding the existing setback is 6.8 in R1 zoning, and the requirements are 8. So we just added it to the second story, keeping the same as the existing structure, and also adding to the back about 12 feet of the property.
Okay, so you're looking to take the existing home, turn it into a two-family house,
That's right.
and not change any setbacks?
Not changing any setbacks, and also adding as a little addition to the back.
Okay, is that about the size of it?
The addition size,
Yeah, I'm sorry, is that all you have to present?
that's all.
Okay. Corinne, we'll start down there with you.
Looking at the plans that you submitted, so you have existing, and then you have what you proposed. How many bedrooms will you have in total?
Existing,
No, how many bedrooms proposed do you have?
6, 3 and 3.
So you have 6 bedrooms, and you have how many parking spaces? I see 4 parking spaces.
That's correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken?
So you're just going up and not out, right? You're going to keep the same setbacks?
On the back is existing sunroom right now. I'm going to try to square off that, and that's going to be the addition.
But there is a sunroom there, so you'll be just going, oh, well, you're going to take out the sunroom and then go up.
The sunroom is kind of like, it's about 12 by 14 right now. So we'll be squaring that off to the rear of the house and raising.
Okay, so what's the difference in the rear, you said, what's the difference in the rear setback from now until?
The setback will be the same.
The same, okay. So side, front, and rear setbacks are all the same?
Yeah, the rear you meet what's required. The side, which is requires 8 feet right now, will be the same as the existing house, 6.8.
Okay. Yep, nothing's changing. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
I have no questions at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You taking the garage down?
That's right, for parking purpose. Otherwise, I would meet the requirement for parking.
6,000 square foot lot. I have no further questions, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Becky?
I just have a question about the zoning. The zoning is R1, is that correct?
Correct.
And this is a two-family, requires 15,000 square feet in R1?
No, this is the conversion one,
So he
45.
only needs 2,500 square feet?
but he has to ask a variance from the, we have different ways you can get it. So the last applicant earlier, he had all the land, but some of the land he couldn't use, right? The 150 Sylvan Street. There's different ways to get to where you want to be in Res 1. So you
Okay.
can have all the land, or you can ask for a dimensional variance. You can ask for a special permit if you have an existing structure. The caveats are that everything happens inside the existing structure. So he's asking for a variance from that one provision that says you can't add on to the structure except for exits.
It says what? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So under this provision, the special permit provision, you can convert up to 4 units in a structure in Res 1.
Right.
Need 2,500 square feet of land area per unit. But the caveat on that is, one of the conditions is that it all happens inside the existing structure. The only additions are for exits, required exits. So in this case, he's asking for the special permit, he's asking for a variance from that one provision to add on.
So he's asking for a variance to add on.
Essentially, yes, that's the overriding thing here is the variance.
And that allows him to
So
be
he's
a multi.
not really adding on, though? He's just,
He is adding on, he's adding a whole second floor.
so that's the add-on, is the second floor?
Really, that's the variance part, is the second floor addition, to convert to the two-family in this
And the
case.
finding is to extend the non-conforming?
He's non-conforming on the front and the right side. So he's going to go straight up, he's going to stay in the same footprint, but he needs a finding for those two setbacks.
And you're going to take the garage down, is that,
That's correct.
so that you can get parking?
That's right.
And in this particular, the special permit provision only requires 2 parking spaces per unit.
2, so he has it. Okay.
He does meet the parking requirement of the special permit
So it
provision.
doesn't tie in with the bedroom?
It does not.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions, Becky?
No.
Bob?
All right, just to clarify, he has 6,000 square feet.
Yeah.
That's a small, small lot. And the parking, he's got in tandem, one in back of the other.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that.
Questions, Bob? Questions?
So you're going to stay in one apartment and rent the other, is that the deal?
That's correct.
All right, I don't have any other questions.
Thanks, Bob. Can I ask what the square footage of each unit would be?
What was the question?
What's the square footage of each unit?
I believe it'd be roughly about 1,000 square feet.
1,000 each?
Yeah, roughly. I don't have the exactly square footage right now.
All right, I guess I don't have any additional questions. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll go to the audience for 73 Poplar Street. Anybody here for 73 Poplar Street? Hearing none, I will come back to the board. Corinne, we started with you.
I am concerned that the lot size is small. You know, I agree with Bob. I think that the tandem parking is kind of tough. But it seems like every other property on this street, or a good many of them, are two families. So I think I would vote for this.
You would?
I would.
Okay, in favor. Ken?
I would vote for this.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
I think it's too much on too small a lot. I don't think I'm going to vote for this.
Thank you, Jeff. And Ken?
I would vote for this. I wouldn't want to park there either, but I guess I don't have to park there.
so I would vote. Thank you, Ken. Becky?
It just seems like really a lot for 6,000 square feet. I'm going to hold my comments.
Okay. Bob?
This is putting a size 10 foot in a size 5 shoe here. That tandem parking is going to back onto Poplar Street. I have a problem with that. I agree with Jeff. It's just too much, and I will not vote for this.
Yeah, I too see this as too much house for a small lot. I see, I'm glad Rich explained to us how you get to a multi, with this type of lot through variance, special permit, and finding. However, I just think this is too much house, not enough parking, and for those reasons alone, I would not vote for it. I would be in favor of something reduced, but I would not vote for it as it is currently presented. And I'll go back to Becky. You don't have the votes anyway, but I'd like to see what Becky is.
I would like to see a size comparison to the new house that's on the corner.
No, the one on what corner?
Next door to him.
Okay.
There's a brand-new house that was built. It was after the fire, right?
Yeah, there was a same thing. I think there was a single family, they converted into a two-family,
Right.
and I think it's a condominium there now.
Came out very nice, but it's on a corner, so it's not squeezed in between two houses.
If you look at the square footage of 71, it only has 41 additional square feet. And if you look at the line,
Right.
so I think the reason why we're looking at it, that the house is too big for where it is because of where it's situated on the lot. I think in the lot next to it, the house is situated in the middle of the lot. It just makes it look a lot different. But if you look, they have almost the same square footage, and there is a two-family on that lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the desire to do it. I just think it's too big. I look at the rendering, and it reminds me of School Street.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it, so. Mr.
I would agree with you that if the second floor, if it was smaller.
Okay. So, Mr. Pento, at this point, you don't have the votes to go forward. You can continue it.
I'd love to continue, but I just got a couple questions.
You would like to continue?
Sure,
Okay, well,
I'd just like to get more of your guys' opinion, because I don't want to come back here and just get into the same situation again. I was going to make sure what's going to make everybody, happy. So is...
Yeah, I think I would, I mean, I hate to put Rich on the spot here, but maybe work with the building inspector. I just think it's too big. And I don't know how you best squeeze it down, but I
Yeah,
think that's
we can get the data on the property next door for everybody.
Yep.
And,
That'll be helpful.
and give that to the applicant and just see if there's
And
something
maybe we can meet somewhere in the middle.
he can do. Is the 28, yeah, 28.
We can take that on the 28th, Kathy? Okay,
Motion to continue to 9.
Second.
I got a motion to continue it to September 28th. And a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Pento, if you could make sure we have plans the Tuesday prior? Okay, so just keep in mind, the mail's been kind of slow, and I know it's little gremlins that show up
Yeah.
at my mailbox from the Code Administration Department acting as mailmen, so
They're gonna ask us to
just make
deliver
sure
them.
we get the plans in advance so we can look them over. We need them in advance of the meeting.
Sure.
Very good, thank you.
I second.
It was seconded by Bob. Motion by Becky. Are we down to the last one? No. Hold on, let Vanna do his thing.
They stayed within the building.
Let me put my mask on. Dave, I want to get one of these that's an emoji, so, you know, it's a smile or a frown.
Don't forget to do that, Mike.
You need a whole assortment of them. You can put the frowny one on.
I need one for each case.
Yeah.
All right, that one's continued. Okay, Mr. Clerk, if we could.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next case is Richard Travaglione, docket 20-4876, requesting a special permit for an additional garage structure in accordance with Section 6, Table 1 of the Danvers zoning bylaws at 8 Christian Lane, and this is zoned R3.
R3.
Hi, how are you?
Aye.
Good evening. If you could just identify yourself and make sure you speak right into that mic.
Sure. Again, my name is Richard Travaglione. This is my wife, Adriana.
Hi.
And we live at 8 Christian Lane. And what we have there is a 3-car garage that is under the house. But actually, the only car that goes inside the garage is hers. The garage bay that's all the way to the left is a garage that I can't even get a car in all the way, and it's just used for storage. It's just for the aesthetics of the house, because the design of the basement comes right into that area of the space. And the garage all the way on the right-hand side is right up against the stone wall that wraps around the driveway that goes down into the, down the hill, down under the house. So you can't even open a door to a car if you were to pull one in. And since we moved to Danvers in 2012, we have 2 little kids, and between the bicycles and scooters and everything that's been accumulated over the past few years, and lately with us all being home a lot more than expected, there's a lot more going on at the house, and to have a little space, and the aesthetics of what I've done over the years that we've had the house, with the landscaping and a pool house and so on. We were hoping it would provide us a little more room.
That's it, you're just looking to do a second garage?
Yeah, a place to park a couple cars and maybe put the 3rd and 4th bicycle and so on. And a room above for a possible playroom for the kids, and a little storage as well.
Okay. Is that the extent of it?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start down there with you, Bob.
Sure.
How many automobiles do you have?
Right now, we have 4.
Okay. And you said you had a classic car someplace. Is that inside one of the garages?
We only have 1 car in the garage.
Oh, no, not a classic car yet, but she gets to park her car inside. Gene, if you were to look at my house, it's got 3 garage
I've seen
doors.
your house. I've been by there.
But there's only 1 car inside. The rest is full
Well,
of...
did I read incorrectly that you have a classic car someplace, or is that a mistake?
No, that's I don't
All
have a
right.
classic car.
So you want to build 3
I
more
hope to one day.
garages?
A structure with
Yeah,
the 3 garage doors.
3 garage bay,
Yes, please. Yes.
and it's going to be away from the house.
Yes, it'll be in the location, of my lot that I would have left to possibly build it in.
All right, so you're going to have to park and walk through the snow and all that to the house?
Well, 1 or 2 of the cars wouldn't be cars I'd particularly be using all the time.
Yeah.
Probably one of them
So it's
wouldn't.
going to be inconvenient for you to get back and forth to that garage, because you can't use the
Well,
one under your house.
It would be, one of the cars wouldn't be used in the snow to begin with, I wouldn't think. It's a 2-seater car, an older car. But as far as work vehicles or whatever, it would be the only way to put an SUV or what have you in the garage due to it being down under the house. There's not much headroom, there's not much room to open the doors inside the house with the lally column and so on.
No, I think it would be awful inconvenient, but that's beside the point. All right, so what you're asking for is to go from 3 garage bays to 6 garage bays in an R3 zone. That's what you're asking, correct?
Yes.
I have no other questions.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
Sure.
What is behind you there? What's behind the cul-de-sac? Is that,
What's behind the cul-de-sac, and a lot of people ask that because if you come down the street, it
I
looks
went
like
there.
there's a house missing. I believe there's a water a water easement that's well beyond the property line. That's why there's not quite enough room for a house at the end of the cul-de-sac.
So, what would be behind this new garage is woods, but who do they,
Woods.
who owns them?
I believe the town,
Oh, you, okay.
it's owned by the town.
Probably the church.
So,
The church sold his property.
it's a beautiful piece of property.
There's a tractor that cleans the way.
Do you know?
I think it's part of the state property that
State
surrounds
property.
the state hospital land, the former state hospital land.
Oh, okay, so it's not somebody's house or
Oh, no.
any,
No, there's no residential up
no residential, no other, okay. I mean, you can't see anything there.
Oh, no.
so, Yeah, okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Becky. Ken?
No questions, thank you.
And Jeff?
No questions.
Ken?
No questions.
And Corinne?
I have a couple questions. So when you drive down your street, in order to enter into where this new garage is, are you going to do a cutout, like through
It's
the
actually-
cul-de-sac?
It's actually already there for when they did work, or when we've done work on the yard earlier. There's actually,
No, because I didn't see it when I drove by, but you're saying there already is like the
yeah,
start of the driveway?
Yeah, I think he has some stone down
there's a
already.
stone driveway already there.
Yeah, okay. And you're saying that this Lot 3 that's here, it's a lot, but it's not really buildable because of water
Well,
behind it?
It's actually, if you were to come down the street, you would kind of expect to see a house, in that
Yes.
location at the end of the street. But because behind that area is where that water easement, or what he says is owned by the state, both houses, my home and the house right across the street, we just split all that land all the way around the cul-de-sac. So, but it's not deep enough to build an entire home.
Lot 3 is his lot.
Okay,
30,000 square feet.
He owns that.
okay. Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
so you're looking to finish, do a finished second floor, I read in the narrative, and make a game room or something to that play area, right? So will there be plumbing to this garage?
As of right now, it's not in the plans.
Heat?
Heat, possibly,
What type of heat?
probably just an air blower, an electric air blower for inside
Electric?
the garage area,
Okay.
in case I ever do get that classic car.
So no plumbing, no toilets, nothing of that nature?
No, not as of right now.
It's quite a structure. I mean, it almost looks like a second house.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I don't have any further
The
questions.
lot is a very large lot, and if you come down the house, if you were to see the roof line on the pool house, I planned on keeping the exact roof line. so
Same
it
roof
kinda
line.
looked
Yeah,
like-
I did visit your property
It would
yesterday.
kind of look like
Actually, I
it
think
kind of matched down the
your
street.
security/wife was out there
Yeah.
wondering who I was.
She told me.
Any additional questions from the board? I'll go out to the audience. Anybody here on 8 Christian Lane? Seeing none, I will come back. And I believe I started with
I think you started with Bob.
Bob.
What?
I started with you.
Yeah, I know, I'm
Okay.
just going to speak.
So I was just seeing if you were awake.
Oh, I'm aware. I have an issue with 6 car bays in an R3 zone. I think it's really overkill, and I won't vote for this.
Thank you, Bob. Becky?
It does kind of appear like a whole nother building, especially since there's going to be a whole second floor. It's 868 square feet,
Well,
is
the
that?
second floor is going to be dormant, it's not going to be an entire...
Hold on, we're at deliberation, so
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
we're talking amongst ourselves.
Oh,
Okay.
I
So-
apologize.
I mean, it looks like with a dormer, a dormer on the front and a dormer on the back, it looks like the second floor is going to be pretty substantial. But I kind of see this like the property that we just talked about a couple weeks ago, where it was way, way, way down and back.
And one door there.
You have one garage door,
Yeah.
How size you, Becky?
I would be more comfortable with the two-car garage, I think, but I don't think there's a big impact all the way where this is. The property's beautiful.
You're a yes? You're a maybe?
I'm a maybe.
Okay. Ken?
I'm a little torn. I personally think 3 bays is too big. I'd be more willing to vote for this with 2, because I think that structure's a little large. So as proposed, I say no.
Thank you, Ken. Jeff?
I will vote for this as it is.
And Ken?
I would vote for this too. I think where it is, it doesn't look bad. It's set back. It's a big property. It's state land behind it. I think there's no problem with any neighbors and stuff. I think it fits in good with your estate. I would vote for it.
Thank you, Ken. And Corinne?
I would vote for this if it were 2 bays. You were talking about your other garage, that's 3 bays, and I understand about how the playroom or the family room cuts into one, and you can't turn the corner. People don't realize sometimes that, oh, it looks great, but, you know, I can't get my car in. So if you have that 1 bay you have here, and the other 2 bays, it would be actual 3 working bays. So I would vote for it if it were 2 bays.
Thank you, Corinne. And I, too, think it's a little on the large side. I side with Ken and Becky as, I'd be okay with it, but maybe as a 2-car garage. I just think it's too large a structure. Looks like a second home to me. I get that you're kind of tucked away there, and it is a beautiful lot. However, you don't have the votes currently. A special permit would require 4 out of 5, and I believe you only have 1. But I think you'd get the 4 out of 5 if you went to 2 cars. So you can continue it and give us a new drawing of a slightly smaller garage, or you can withdraw without prejudice, or you can take a vote. And if you take a vote, you can't come back before the board for 2 years.
Well,
You don't have the votes to pass.
I could go down to 2-car.
Okay. Rich, we would need a new plan, or can we just edit this one? But I guess we would need a new plan.
No, we need a new plan.
We need a new plan.
Yeah, we're going to have to continue it, because we're going to need new drawings.
Okay.
Because what we would vote on is based on what you present to us. And right now, what we're saying is a 24 by 36 is too big.
Okay.
So I think what I've heard, if I have it
I
right,
just-
the board would be more comfortable with a 2-car garage.
That was basically I ordered that offline to kind of get the size of the foundation.
Bigger is better sometimes, right? Go for the stars, right?
And get a plan into you guys. That actually really wasn't going to be the exact size and draw out, but that was to get the kind of size. What size would be?
Well, again,
I could just go punch in and they'll give me that size drawing.
Yeah. Like we said to the prior applicants, we would need a new drawing. If we, Kathy, can we push that on the 28th as well?
Okay.
Are we getting,
We're getting up there, and I don't know which one of you do have, that's pushed us out 8 or 9. 8 or 9 pages.
Go to the next meeting.
can we continue you to October 19th?
Do I have an
I
option?
mean, I hate to do that to you, but it looks like we're kind of, that night's full right now.
Yeah, this would be number 9.
Well, I'll leave it to the board. What do you guys think?
It's up to you guys.
We used to do 9.
All right, we'll try to do it the 24th. You're our continued case. So you'll be 28th, sorry.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to continue to the 28th, and we would need drawings ahead of time, and work with the building inspector if you have any questions on size.
Sure.
So
I got a motion and a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
The applicant mentioned something about this being kind of a rough, okay drawing, What we vote on is exactly what
Yeah,
they're
you
going
got
to
to
build.
give us exactly what you're doing.
So make sure it's exactly what you want, because then Mr. Maloney will check what you built to these plans when
And
we
to
approve
that
them.
point, we just had a garage come before us that was not built to spec, and they actually had to
Well,
take down a
I mean, the
roof line.
size of the garage is going to be, I mean, the size of the foundation is the most important for the setbacks and where it's going to be laid out on the land.
When
So
when we
that's why
vote
I
on a
got-
plan,
I'm just saying, whatever we vote on, you have to build to. So
Oh,
just
right.
make sure it's
make sure it's
spot on.
exactly what you want.
Someone just had to take down a
So,
roof.
But
that
as far
did not.
as a 3-car or a 2-car, are you going by size or are you going by garage doors?
Let him talk to Rich and get,
You
Well,
talk to Rich.
Building inspector.
We'd like to see
Okay.
2 doors
Right,
and a smaller, both. We want 2 doors and we want a smaller structure.
okay, makes sense?
And work with Mr. Maloney.
Sure thing.
I got a motion and a second.
No problem.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll see you on the 28th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under and near the photovoltaic panels with Dan Di Lorenzo, and reviewed the request with Chief Amaral, and have no objections to the request. In speaking with Dan, our request is to keep the center area open for truck passage. Any changes to this, we would request notification and approval by our department. Thank you. Captain P. James Brooks, Jr., Fire Prevention Officer, Danvers Fire Department.
Thank you. And who is here?
I'm Dan Di Lorenzo from Danvers Port, and
So a yacht club that wants to store boats. That's a surprise. Go ahead, tell us what you'd like
I'm
to
here
do.
with Joe, my son Joe. So obviously, with the pandemic, we've got some incredible strain on our business. We're only allowed to have 25 guests for an event in any room. So we just are looking for other optional revenue to help us get through these tough times. With this discussing amongst ourselves, we thought, well, what could we do with a parking lot that we're not going to use this winter? Winter is quiet as is, and with most events being larger fundraisers in the winter, that's typically what happens in January, or perhaps a winter snowball dance from a school. We don't see them happening at all this winter. In fact, they've all canceled and pushed off. So we're looking for an option for our parking area. We've selected 2 areas in the back part of our parking lot, and we thought that we could trailer boats there and store them for the winter, leave a fire lane in there, as Captain Brooks suggested, and they would pretty much be just brought in, stored, and in the spring they'd be taken out. Part of our thoughts were that we would not allow any mechanical work to be done there. We have a facility for that, so we wouldn't allow the starting of engines. That would all, any of that business would have to be done at the marina itself. We feel that it's much, not any more of an inconvenience for traffic, since the events won't be happening. So we're just looking to store some boats in that spot in the meantime. We're asking, just for a 1-year permit while the pandemic is going on, and I think that's it in a nutshell. And it would be for the winter season, which I've got the dates down for.
Okay. Before I turn it over to the board, approximately how many boat slips are we talking about here, or storage spots?
In each area, there's about 50 spaces that we could store a boat in, 50 parking spaces. So I expect that we could store 50 boats there in each area. So under the solar panels would be 50, and in the back parking lot would be 50, if we could get a boat in each spot, which I think a trailer would fit in a car parking spot.
So these would, all these boats would be on trailers, not on stilts or stands?
I'm thinking that they're going to be all on trailers. I don't know if we would be able to move any boats there and put stands under them. I'd like to leave the option open, but I particularly was thinking that we'd put trailered boats there.
Okay, I'll turn it over to the board. Is it your turn, Corinne?
I believe so.
Help me out here.
I just have a couple questions.
Shoot.
When people take the boats out of the water, it's over on, it's not at the main, like where the yacht club is.
It's not at the event side, it's on the marina side.
Okay, so on the marina side, you take the boats out, and then you winterize them, you shrink wrap them, and then who takes them on the trailers over to the parking space? Like over.
We could take them by trailer. We have a pickup truck that could take them over.
Okay. Would you be limiting the time of day when you would be doing it? So in other words, if we said you can do it, but you have to do it between 10 and 3, just so that you're not traveling at the height of the day?
I think obviously the larger amount of time, the better for us. The only other thing is that if somebody was not pulling their boat out and being serviced by us, if they were pulling it out at Pope's Landing, they may just drive it over themselves. So I can't say that we're going to take every single boat ourselves there.
Okay.
There would be, far less traffic because a boat is just set there one time for the winter, and then it goes away one time. So
Right.
As far as traffic-wise, I think it's going to be substantially less than what our events would be doing under normal circumstances.
Oh, no, that is definitely true. I've been to some events where it's taken me a long time to get out of the parking lot, but, and what size boats will you be storing on the yacht club side?
On the event side?
Yes.
There would be boats that would be able to be trailered there.
Okay. So in other words.
Typically, it's 25-foot or less that can fit on a trailer,
Okay.
30.
So the bigger boats would be on the other side?
Yes.
On the marine side?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken?
Corinne pretty much asked my question, so I have no more.
Thank you, Jeff.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
And Ken?
Thank you. So boats can be stored in the fall, over the winter, come spring, they're all out of there, every single one of them.
Correct.
I think he's looking for a permit to go till May 31st, right?
Well, whatever the season
What
is.
was the date?
I put the season on there as September 15th through May 31st.
Yeah.
And I'm
No further questions.
Thank you. Becky?
So the only question I have is, in the spring, I know that people like to get their boats ready to go in the water and work on their boats. How would you allow that? Are you planning to allow that? I mean, usually they're sanding, they're painting.
Well, we don't have electricity out there as far as outlets, and we would have to put something in the stipulation that they would not be able to work on their boats other than uncover them, there.
Okay.
And we'd definitely not allow the mechanical work to take
That
place.
would be the only thing that I would be worried about.
Correct,
You know,
yeah.
everybody's out there, doing crazy stuff, so, okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Bob?
Are all these boats going to be shrink wrapped? That's way to ensure no one's going to work on them.
Well, some people will have their boat shrink wrapped by us, and other people cover them over with a tarp. So, like I said, we don't have electricity outlets out there. That would be one way to control, any kind of power equipment.
Yeah, and
And I'd have to build this into the agreement with the people that are there storing their boats, that they would they would know that they can't have mechanical work done while the boats are in that area.
and I would think that'd be detrimental to you guys anyway, if they were working in the area.
No, we're not looking for that. We're just looking for this winter to utilize some
All right,
space
and,
that,
I really have an issue with May 31st as the end of winter.
What's on that, Bob?
Maybe April 31st, I would like a little better. Because even if it's too cold to put in the water, this is when the people want to work on it and get them out of there.
I think that we could you know, as the boats at the marina side go into the water, starting probably in March
All right.
or April, that we could, you know, if people needed work on their boat, that they could transfer them to the marina side. That's certainly an option that we have.
Yeah. I just have a problem with May 31st as being, you know, the last day you could keep the boat. And who knows, maybe the vaccine will be around and you guys will have all kinds of bookings and your parking lot's full of boats.
That would be nice to have a vaccine that worked like that, but
Yeah.
right now, the events that we have for this winter have postponed, and we don't have that business.
And then you got together with the fire captain and you agree with all his suggestions and all that?
Yes, I met with Captain Brooks, and we talked about where the boats would be stored and how we would have a fire lane down the center of each area, which we expected to have.
So you wouldn't mind taking that as a condition that whatever your plans are approved by the fire department?
No, that would be fine.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Bob. Mr. DiLorenzo, so help me out with your process a little. If a boat's shrunk wrap on a trailer over at the marina, and how do you bring it over to this parking lot, on the public road?
It would come out onto Elliott Street.
And is that
where the-
legal to do once it's wrapped?
Yes, you can travel with a shrink
You
wrap
can,
boat.
so is license plates on the trailers still visible, I
Sure,
guess?
they're visible, the boat's just covered on the top.
Okay, I just didn't understand that. And I know Becky touched on this and Bob a little too, and I know you said electricity, however, in the day of cordless everything, I still a little concerned about people working on boats. So how would you enforce if people are violating your rules?
We would have to enforce it ourselves. You know, we would have to go out there and enforce it, which we would do.
Well, how would you monitor it? I mean, you know, you wouldn't want to find out from the neighbors.
No,
right?
I wouldn't, but I wouldn't want it, I would want to make it that it was very clear in the
agreement.
contract with the customer that this wasn't allowed there.
Okay,
We're there every day. We have people there. I'm there.
Okay.
We can make that a condition, too.
Yeah, I echo Bob's feeling too. I think May 31st kind of extends us a little further than I'd like to see, maybe April 31st. Would you be all right with that?
Well, the truth of it is that some people don't go in the water till later. You know, they go in June, but I'm trying to go with May 31st because I figured we can get everybody out of there by then.
So the answer's no?
If it's,
People don't put their boats in till Memorial Day.
They can move it over the
Look at
other
Mr.
side.
Ken. How about May 15th?
Yeah, the 15th we'd make that happen.
Okay, good compromise. Ken, you're a negotiator. All right, any other additional questions from the board? How about out to the audience, anybody here on Davisport Yacht Club?
Mr. Bradstreet.
Come on down. You are the next winner.
Bill Bradstreet, town meeting member, Precinct 1. The ladies need to speak closer to their mics. It asks for a temporary, which is an arbitrary term. They stated they need a year. Is a year temporary?
Yeah, this is a
That's the
special
question.
permit, so they are asking to,
One season.
once, they're basically dating in their application September 15th to May 31st of next year. We've asked them to accept May 15th of next year.
Okay, so it's not...
And they would not be able to continue that unless they came before this board again.
Okay, so a year is
One time.
closer to 9 months.
So it's not even a full year, that's right.
Okay, so it's closer to 9 months is temporary?
9 months, yeah.
Okay. I don't live there, so, and I don't have a boat, so I don't have to
Okay.
worry. It was just a question.
If you have a boat, see Davisport for storage.
I don't want a
Okay.
boat. thank you.
Free advertising. Any additional questions?
Way in the back.
Way in the back.
Come
It's
on
hard to
down.
see you back there with the
Come
lights.
on down.
While she's doing that, we should stipulate that the dates.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in his
2020
application.
and 2021, so
Yep.
it's only a year.
We'll roll it back to the 15th because he agreed to that.
Yeah.
I don't agree to that.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
Let me have my comments.
Yeah, I will.
Pete Clement, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3. Through the chair to Rich Maloney, how big is a parking space? Usually, what's the length of this parking?
9 by 18.
9 by 18. So we're going to have 50 boats underneath the overhang there. Average car will fit in a parking place. We're going to have the average boat 25 feet. Now, you got the 25 feet of the length of the boat, which is wider than the parking place. All right? Plus, you're going to have about 6 feet of a tongue on it. So that 25-foot boat now is going to be about 30-odd feet if they stay within the 25-foot boats. But boats also come to 30-foot lengths on trailers, all right, which are a little bit wider and a little bit longer. So, the problem is I've been through a lot of meetings, and these meetings will turn around, they'll tell you, this is what we're going for, okay? We're going for this. But there's a history that you go for this, and they end up with this, and you kind of go like, that ain't what they asked for, all right? And that's, I think we're getting another one of these bait and switches on this, for one. Now, the other thing is how are you going to control the paint coming off the bottoms of the boats? Because you take a boat out of the water, the paint can peel off, and that's a hazard. Now you're going to load up the whole parking lot with bottom paint that's going to blow over into the neighbors' yards and everything else. I mean, you really should do a little thinking on this. I don't think that this is the right thing to do there. Plus, how much gas is going to be in each boat? And what happens if, when you take a boat out and put it in storage, you usually take out a drain plug. What about the gas that's going to leak out if you have leaking tanks or oil in the boats and the rest of this? I mean, I think you really should do a little bit more consideration on what's going on here. And, like I said, that little parking place that they're talking about, 50, you just think, oh boy, that's going to fit right here. But the next thing you know is half the parking lot's loaded with boats. That ain't the way it was supposed to be. And that's the way that it's sounding like it's going again.
Okay, thank you. I'll have them
Thank you.
see if we can answer these questions. Mr. DiLorenzo, can you address those issues?
Well, as far as the boat storage area, I've outlined on the plan where the boats would go. I've also spoke with Captain Brooks as far as having fire lanes. So we would be restricted to stay within those areas and work with the fire lanes. If a trailer is wider than 9 feet and it takes up a little more room, that's less boats that go in there. I mean, we're just going to stay within the outlined area.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
So it's 50 parking spots that are 9 by 8.
Right.
But the man brought up a good point. So there's a chance that there's spillover where it's 2 parking spots. So I take it that would just limit.
That would limit the amount of boats. But also, there's a large area in the middle of parking spaces that I didn't count in my estimates. So that area would be where the fire lane is. So the parking spaces that I counted are only around the perimeter.
And how about as far as fuel, oil, spills, leaks of this nature?
So when a boat comes out of the water and gets washed, we have a basin for that collects all that water. So we pressure wash the boats and we recycle that water and filter it. None of that would be done on the event site. These would be boats that people could be taking home and putting in their driveway, but instead they're going to put them there.
And is typically a boat emptied of its oils and gas over the winter, or not? I'm
No.
guessing not oil.
No, it wouldn't be emptied of oil in the gas tanks. There's different levels of gas. Some people have a little gas left in their tank, and some people have more. But we've stored boats for 25 years on the other side, and we haven't had boats that were stored for the winter that were leaking fuel. It's in a gas tank like you'd have on a car. It just doesn't leak fuel.
The parking lot has, I'm imagining, runoff drainage. Is there any consideration for possibly, like they put up with construction sites, bales of hay, or things of this nature, in case of runoff of some oils or fuels?
The parking lot was redone a few years back. It has all those,
filters?
Right, it has a basin that collects the solids from the parking lot through the storm drain system. It's all designed to meet the current clean water
Okay,
standard.
and what about the point that was brought up about potential paint peeling and these types of things?
So, like I said, when a boat comes out of the water, if it's at our marine facility, we will wash that boat down, and that's all collected. We have a whole system there that catches the water and filters it, and the water is, again, recycled. That would all be done not at the event side. So these would be boats that people would be taking home and putting in their driveway, or putting someplace that would, not need any kind of extra catching. I don't see a boat just sitting on a trailer that ever peels paint.
And those boats, you said, aren't all going to be shrink wrapped. I'm assuming the ones with shrink wrap, that's less likely with the paint peeling. But what about boats, as you indicated, that will have, say, a canvas cover on them?
So the shrink wrap or the canvas cover pretty much goes over the top of the boat. It doesn't go completely around the boat.
It doesn't, okay.
No, it covers probably two-thirds, the top two-thirds of a boat.
Okay. I have another question.
Yeah, let me just finish with the public.
Any other additional, yeah, come on up to the mic, identify yourself.
Thank you. Jane Fuller, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, 30 Congress Avenue. I am a direct abutter. These boats, along with the dredge spoilage tank right next to it, will be stored 200 feet from my property. I'm absolutely against this. There would be, if they had a sailboat, they'd be clanging. I know I live in between Danvers Port Yacht Club and the marina. I moved there in 1997 from Woodvale. I knew there was a marina there. I don't expect to have a marina in my backyard. With respect to the size of the boats, Pete Clement's right. If you have a 30-foot boat, it's not going to fit into a 19-by-8 parking space. The pandemic is open-ended. The word temporary for Danvers Port has some connotations with me that are open-ended. Temporary could mean 40 years. And I won't get into that because that's not why we're here. And like somebody mentioned that there are generators and there's hand tools. People could be over there sanding. And he has no control. He even said that not all these boats are going to be wrapped and prepared by Danvers Port. And with respect to them making sure that people aren't doing what they shouldn't be doing, I called Danvers Police several occasions for buses running for an entire event in my backyard where it says, no bus parking here. And I've called the yacht club and asked them to attend to it, but ended up calling the police. And they have come down and responded to that. I really hope that this board would consider not allowing this to happen, especially if there was some issue that did happen with the dredge spoils and it were to leak out, then what are you going to do? You have 50 boats that have to be moved to contain it. Maybe store the boats in his backyard on the other side of the parking lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you could come this way, please. Thanks. Additional comments here for Danvers-Port Yacht Club? Yep, come on up.
Good evening. Bob Fuller, 30 Congress Avenue. When this parking lot was first established, there was guidelines set up for snow removal. Where are these places for the snow removal? I believe that they're right where they're going to be storing the boats now. Not too sure where the snow is going to go. They're talking about possibly bringing in 30-foot boats. That could be a trailer with a sailboat. They're not saying that there's not going to be boats that are going to be there on stands. Sailboats have masts. They have ringing that's on them. They ring, ding, 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 ding. Again, my wife said, why do we have to have everything in our yard when they have the whole other parking lot that they live on? We're dealing with the dredge spoils, and they want to store boats underneath their canopy over there. Why can't they keep all the boats over there next to the canopy? They have the same amount of parking places over there. And my wife said if there is a problem with the dredge spoils, they're going to move 50 boats out of the way to get to it. Doesn't make much sense. Thank you.
How about that, Mrs. DiLorenzo? Can you address snow removal space and whether or not there'll be sailboats?
So as far as the snow removal, when we, it's actually a lot less than you'd expect for snow removal, because when you have stored boats, you don't plow in between them. We just plow the fire lane in between the boats. So that whole parking area wouldn't get cleared, just the center where the fire lane would be. So there's really not an issue with snow removal.
But isn't that, as the person indicated, an area for snow storage?
I don't believe that whole area is for snow storage. I'd have to go back and look at the plans, but we just push a lot of snow there in the winter when we don't use that area.
Okay. And as far as sailboats?
Sailboats, we don't expect that we would have any sailboats there, because with the masts,
would you take
they
that as a
wouldn't be able to
condition
travel on
as to no sailboats?
Excuse me?
Would you take that as a condition, no sailboats?
Yes.
Thank you. Any additional comment from the public on Danvers-Port? Yep, right up there in the back.
Yes. I'll stand.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Andrea Daly, Precinct 3 Town Meeting Member. I'd like to address several aspects of this application. The first one being the premise of why they want to use the parking lot on the event side. And the reason they want to use that is because They're not getting enough business because of the pandemic. And I believe this is the first time, and I served on this board for 19 years. I was chairman of it for 2. Best education I ever got for free. On this condition that they want to use the parking lot in order to earn extra money, I don't think that this comes under what this zoning board is allowed to do, because it's a money issue. How many of us would like to use their land to store other people's boats on it and charge them to earn extra cash for anything else? And I would like to see, before anything is rendered, a legal judgment from town council as to the validity of what you could do in order to help this business out. How about having some of the people up the square that have parking lots for their business, how about them having boats stored or cars stored or anything in their parking lot? This is a very, very slippery slope that this board, if you do grant it, is going to go down. Next thing, the trailers were an issue, and so they're asking for 50 boats on one side and 50 boats under the canopy. And if you give them a limit of the number of boats that they can put on that property, the size will eat that property up. So it should be a defined area so that so many boats can fit in it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be 50 and 50, because that can, if you had 50 elephants in this room versus 50 turtles, who would occupy the largest space? Then we have the hours of operation as to when those boats are going to come. The traffic on Elliott Street is pretty heavy right now, and we're talking about boats that are being brought in from other towns, other people's lots, other people's areas to this spot, 100 boats, 100 boats. It's difficult even now on Elliott Street just to get out of places, never mind boats being shuffled from the marina to the venue. This would be a blatant expansion of a non-conforming use in a residential 2 area. This was not allowed, and this is an expansion of a very detrimental use to a residential 2 area. About keeping promises. I came from before this board one other time, and I challenged you to have me pulled off by a police officer. And this may happen again here tonight, because they don't keep their word. I had brought up before this board before, when they had come up for the signs, that the area that they have right now, they're not adhering to the rules that everybody has set for them. I went down and I brought up to this board that there is a fire lane at 107 Elliott Street, and it's continuously blocked because they allow the boats to go on it. I left with this group here pictures showing that. I went down to the fire chief. Nothing was done. It's very, very difficult.
So, Ms. Daly, if we could just stick to this application.
We're talking about fire lanes, aren't we?
No, we're talking about boat storage and a special permit.
Yes, we are, but he also said that there would be fire lanes on that property.
Yep, and it was reviewed by the fire department, and they are okay with it. I have a letter that we read in at the beginning.
The point is, on the place that they have right now, they have blocked the fire lanes on 107.
But that's nothing this board can do anything about.
It certainly is, because you put it that as a condition one other time. and that hasn't been addressed or cleared up. And so they're promising you that they're going to have a lane there and keep it open. They haven't gone over any hours of operation. And they aren't complying now with what they have. And again, and they're asking for a temporary permit for a year, and all of those boats will be removed.
They're looking for 9 months out to either end of May, or there's some discussion amongst the board, middle of May.
Of when they're going to have it. Well, right now, where they have the marina, the boats are still there beyond the hours of operation for the season, and they're never addressed. So how is this going to be different from the same people? What is the guarantee
Well,
that all of the
this
boats...
permit would expire, and their boats would have to be out of the parking lot.
Who's going to move those boats out, and what is the fine if they don't?
Well, it would fall under code administration to send a letter, just typical process that the town follows.
We understand, and sometimes the process takes years to matriculate. And I am absolutely not in favor of this, and I'm just challenging the board to get a legal opinion before they make any decision on this, because for the first time in my memory for this board, they're asking for a financial hardship that they need the extra green bucks in order to expand a non-conforming use. And that's what I want town council to put that answer to, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go to the building inspector if I could.
I'm going to stay right here. Thank you. Nope, I'm going to sit right here.
Rich, as far as special permit, is this
It's a finding.
something that town council would get involved with or rule on?
It's a finding they're seeking. In our Section 3, the finding section is very liberal when you have a non-conforming use. So
This isn't really
they have a right
something-
to ask for anything. It's not a variance, so there's no hardship they have to prove. It's a finding. So they can ask for just about anything under the sun, and it's up to this board to make a
So
determination.
it's really the latitude of this board.
Correct.
Very
Whether
good.
it's more
Thank you.
detrimental.
And Mr. Di Lorenzo, about hours of operation. What are we looking at here?
I hadn't really even thought about it as far as people bringing their boats down or us bringing it down, because we would do that all during the day.
Well, it sounds like
I know that...
we're looking to see if possibly we can set some times or parameters around it.
Sure. What I was thinking was that in any day, we could have 100 cars come down to an event in one day, and this was 100 cars coming down over the entire season. So it was a minuscule amount of traffic compared to what the events would naturally do. Because you're talking that this boat is only going to be brought in one time, and then it's going to be taken out. So you're talking about, very, very minimal amount of traffic. As far as noise, I don't think there'll be any noise. I could set a time, but I just, what'd you think? 8 to 5?
8 to 5?
As
So
far
there'd be no
as
boat
far as
movement outside of those hours?
Right, I would have to, the thing is, customers may come and take their boats. They could come in and take their trailer out. It doesn't make any noise, they just hitch their car up, and they would leave. So I would, if it was, any other, I'd have to block that off to keep people from doing that. I'm just
Okay,
trying to think about it, but it's
something
not
to consider.
it's not a noisy,
Yeah, okay, I get you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on Damersport?
Can I ask a quick question to him?
Yeah, go ahead.
So when these boats are there, people can just come and take them? You don't have to have anybody there?
well, what we would do is we would have to have some kind of security for these boats because, we would want to, once they're stored for the winter, we'd want to block that area off, still allowing the fire department to get in there, but kind of restrict them from leaving with any boats. We don't want any of them taken.
No, the spring comes now. I own a boat, I drive down, hook it up and take off, you don't even know I've been there?
That's a possibility, that they could come down and take their boat.
You don't have to have anybody check them off?
They would usually, we would...
I could come down and take someone else's boat, right?
Yeah, I think I'd be worried about theft.
Well, we've talked about theft and how we're going to close the parking lot in that area off with either a movable vehicle that could block the entrance to that, because there's curbs all the way around there. So we talked about putting a vehicle there that could be moved.
So people don't have to call you up and say, I'm coming down to get my boat. Anyone can drive in at any time and pull the boat up.
So typically, when we store boats, we make arrangements with the customers. So that's what we do. We call them and we talk to them when they want their boat launched, when they're going to come and get the boat. But
so you make an appointment?
It doesn't necessarily mean that every single customer does not come down and say, I'm ready to launch my boat, I'll be down this week to get it. And they would come and take their boat away. It's not a noisy process to...
I'm not worried about the noise. It just doesn't seem to be a good way to do business, and let anybody come in with a pickup truck and hook onto a boat and take off. And nobody's there to check them off. Nobody's there to see that that's the guy that owns the boat. It just doesn't seem to be a good business.
We have very good security down there. We have security guards that are on duty, and we also have a fabulous camera system.
What I'm asking you is there a person there or just a camera?
There's cameras and we have a security guards.
All right, so I go down, I have to talk to the security guard before I hook my boat up. Is that what you're telling me?
He would, if somebody came down there at night and went to get a boat, he would go over there and find out what was going on.
But during the day, he wouldn't care?
During the day, we're there. The people are there, we're all working.
That's what I'm asking you. Does somebody know when somebody comes to take a boat?
I think I'm hearing the answer is no.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to interject with one of the more common ways that people lock their boats is not by closing the yard or something like that. It's by locking the trailer with their own mechanism, so that only they can hook, they have a key or a combination to...
It's kind of on the idea of a tire lock.
Exactly. It just goes in the ball, so a ball can't fit in that receptacle area there. And that's a very common way to be done.
All right.
Are you good, Bob?
I have other questions, but I'll let the people from the audience...
Yep, okay. Go ahead.
Pete Clement, town meeting member, precinct 3. You're telling me that this is just a temporary...
Yeah, this is a special permit request that will expire.
For a temporary thing.
Special permit.
Through you to Rich Maloney, okay? They had another issue that they had a temporary thing, which is a footbridge. They put it out without any permission, and then they told everybody it was going to be there for 6 months. If they didn't get the permit, it would be taken out. How long ago was that, Rich? And it's still there? About 15, 18 years? Thank you. Like I said.
Okay, so actually, if I could, Rich, go back to you. So I guess I was confused thinking this was a special permit, but this is a finding. Does that change, I guess, to Mrs. Daly's request, whether or not town council would look at this any differently?
No, I already answered that question
Okay, thank you.
very clearly.
Mr. Chairman,
Under our zoning, section 3, a finding is they can ask for anything they want, and it's up to this board to make a determination.
Very good. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
when she mentioned the financial hardship, you can't use that on a variance, but this is not a variance.
That's correct. Okay, thank you. Okay, yes.
You're letting the same people speak over and over.
I can't see him, Becky. Why are you yelling at me?
One time.
Do we have new comments? Let me get my other glass on.
I don't know, can you hear me?
Can you remove your mask, please? Can't hear you.
Was that wiped? Have we been wiping
No.
that?
I think it was.
Hi, my name's Lori Marabito, Precinct 3 Town Meeting Member. I'm really new at this,
And I guess what I'm not understanding is, it seems very vague. People are asking very specific questions about hours of operation. We don't know if the boats are all going to be from the Davenport Yacht Club or if they're going to be from private people everywhere. Some of the vague, the part about generators, no, we're not going to have any generators, but we might not have people there visually during the day. We might have cameras at night as security guards, but it does concern me that there is some vagueness to the whole proposed finding. And I live on the river, and I think it's the best resource that Danvers could have, and I think it's something that desperately needs as much protection as we can give it. So I was hoping for a little bit more concrete answers so that we can make sure we protect our beautiful resource. Thanks.
Are you in favor of this or not in favor?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think I am. As the way it's been proposed tonight, I'm absolutely not, because the parking spaces have sounded like they're, well, maybe this or maybe that. We might not be able to get 50. We might be able to. It seems very vague. And because it's on the river, essentially, I'm very much in favor of our river source, more so than making money. And I think it's really clever for people to reinvent themselves, so I don't deny that for anyone. But I just would hate to see our river damaged, or neighborhoods as well, of course. But
Very good, thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
One more thing. Bob Fuller, 30 Congress Avenue. Is there any objection to putting all of the boats on your side?
Well, the address here, but we can ask the applicant that. Do you care to address that?
So the areas that we picked for the boat storage were the furthest areas away from the events building, so that guests would be closer to the building. These areas are really, if you have been down there, they're really surrounded by trees, so they're very shielded from the neighbors. I included a Google map so you could see the amount of trees that surround the areas. It's pretty secluded if you went down there and looked at it.
Okay, so you feel this is the best spot?
I do.
If your event has 25 people, how many parking places are in the parking lot? I don't think that your patrons are, if all the boats were taken up on that side, on the opposite side, would not be affected, especially with the amount of people you say are coming to the place.
Well, the applicant answered the question. Thank you. All right, I'm going to come back to the board.
I have a few questions.
Yep, let's go.
You know,
Bob?
this sheet you gave us, you got two yellow areas that are circled, and those are the two areas the boats are going to go.
Correct.
And it's going to be, there's 50 parking spaces in both areas?
If you look at each section, there's about 25 spaces, parking spaces on each side of each section. I went down and counted them. So there's, if you pick one section, there's 25 parking spaces on one side, 25 on the other. I was estimating myself that a trailer could go into a parking space. We're not using any of the spaces that are in...
You got this area here circled.
Correct.
And then you got a square area covered with yellow.
Right.
Is that also going to be a parking area?
Yes, there's two separate areas.
All right, and what is the total number of parking spaces in each area?
So each area has, around the perimeter, 50 spaces for a total of...
So we're talking 100 spaces?
For 100 car spaces.
No, but I want to know how many car spaces are there? There's 100 car spaces.
That is not counting the car spaces that are in the center, just the ones around the perimeter.
The ones you want to use, there's 100 car spaces?
Correct.
Okay. So you can either get 100 boats in there, or 75 boats, or 50 boats, or whatever. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm looking to use that area to place boats, leaving fire lanes down the center.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is, you're telling me that a boat will fit in the parking space. And
I use that
you
in...
said if it doesn't fit in the parking space, then you won't park as many boats in that area because the area is defined.
The area is defined.
Okay, so the most boats that you're going to park in both these areas is 100.
I believe that is correct, 100 boats, because I estimated
And you
that.
would take that as a condition that there would not be any more than 100 boats?
I could agree to that.
Okay, because you may have less than 100 boats, depending on the size.
There could be less. If each boat, I figured, travels down the road as the width of a car, then it would fit inside of a parking space.
Well, I don't agree with you there, but I just want to limit if you can find a small boat that'll do it, fine. But you will take a condition limiting it to 100 boats.
Sure.
I would like to make also a condition that the season be set and specified. Would you say December 15th? Was that the date?
September 15th.
December 15th, 2020 to,
It's right down.
May 15th?
May 15th, 2021.
no,
Are we
but
doing comments? Is that,
Bob's asking questions right now.
yeah, I'm asking if you'll take these conditions.
I think he already accepted that he would take till May 15th.
Because as people said, the word temporary is very flexible.
What I have so far,
We're going to limit this to 1 year, and we're specifying the dates.
yes, Bob, what I have right now as conditions that they have agreed to accept is that they will have a period of time from September 15th to May 15th, 2021, that there'll be no more than 100 boats, and there will be no sailboats. Those are the three conditions.
the hours of
And
operation?
8 to
will
5.
be
And
8
hours
to
of
5,
operation of 8 to 5.
And no working on boats.
And no working on boats.
I have 5 conditions.
And I also have that he has to abide by all the fire department's
Yeah.
Right.
rules or whatever.
All right,
He
but
would have to anyway.
let's hold that for deliberation. Do we have any additional questions from the board?
All right.
I have one more.
Well, that was my question.
Well, I have a
if you
question.
accept those conditions.
Are all of the boats winterized by you that are going to be in this area, or do they come from anywhere?
I think he answered
Are you
no.
winterizing all these boats and putting them in the storage areas?
We winterize the boats that are stored in our marina.
I'm saying
Sometimes-
in this new area we're talking about.
This is totally new for us. Typically, if people wanted us to winterize their boat, we would do it for them. They could have another mechanic winterize their
So
boat.
you do not potentially winterize every
We
boat
do
that's
not
going to be in
potentially
this area?
winterize all of them. Some people prefer to have their own mechanic that they've worked with do their boats.
Thank you. Ken, you had an additional question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, the coordinating efforts, like, say, for instance, it's a what-if, but it could happen. They're like 20 people come at once, because it's a really sunny day, and they come at once to grab their boats, and then who is going to detail the traffic, or, sort of coordinate the efforts there?
I don't think it would be a problem with any kind of traffic because they pull out. I mean, 20 people coming in one day would probably be pretty unusual for that amount of boats. I mean, I just don't see that happening, that there would be any kind of traffic jam.
But say, for instance, it did, would someone be on site to, like, flag people to, you go first, and then you wait in a certain area, don't idle your truck? and-
Right, we are there. I'm there every day, Joe is there every day, we're working there all the time. Somebody is working there.
So could that be another condition, to have someone on site to alleviate any tensions of, too many cars, or to at least coordinate some traffic and stuff?
I don't expect, like I said, I don't expect that with even 50 boats in one section that there's going to be any kind of traffic problem. If 4 of them left in one day or 6 of them left in one day, they could be hours apart.
No, I know, I'm just talking about like in the same hour. Like 15, 20 people come, then it's sort of, mayhem with all these trailers and stuff like that.
We just haven't experienced that in our marine facility.
Okay.
It just hasn't happened.
Okay.
So in your experience, you haven't seen it?
All right, so is there any additional questions? Otherwise, I'm going to close the questions portion and go to deliberations. Very good, and I believe I started with you, Corinne?
Excuse me,
Sorry.
could I speak?
So- I have Ms. Daly, as long as it's a new comment.
Bring it over to the chair, Andrew?
Andrea Daly, Precinct. Andrea Daly, Precinct 3, Town Meeting Member. Would the board entertain a limitation of, or a space, because we're talking about 100 boats, to be put in 2 designated areas? Perhaps the board may want to think or entertain a suggestion of having a designated area or 2 designated areas only.
We have that already.
We have that already.
Do you, that they'd only be able to
Yeah.
fit in that designated area?
That is correct. We have a highlighted map.
All right, you have the highlighted map, and I'm just making a point that those are the places that they will put the boats. It will probably be less than 100 boats, depending upon the size of these boats.
That is
But
correct.
if you, if you top it off at 100 boats, then they could be sprawled, especially if they're 30 feet
100
long.
boats, but not outside that designated area.
Okay, I'll rest easy on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will now close comment, and I can't remember where I started, so help me out.
Okay, it's
I think it was me, but
All
it
right,
was a long,
Yeah,
it was like an
you're
hour
talking
ago,
again,
so.
It goes this way.
Okay, so I'm first. I agree with all the conditions we put on. I would also include, you stated earlier in the evening that you weren't going to store any boats larger than, I guess, 25 foot.
Well, I was corrected by Joe. He said 30 feet would be possible to put a boat on, 30 feet on a trailer.
Oh, okay. Can we put that as the maximum, though?
30 feet could be the max.
Okay,
Another condition of 30, no larger boat than 30 feet in length.
yes. With all these conditions, I would vote for this.
Thank you, Corinne. Ken?
I would too, with all the stated conditions that were approved by the other members.
Thanks, Ken.
I will vote for this with all the conditions.
Okay, and Ken?
And I will vote for this.
Becky?
I will also vote for this, and I think that we have a responsibility to try to help businesses in town. Everyone is suffering with the pandemic, and I know that we have to be careful about what we approve, but I really think that it's important that we try to help our fellow business owners within the community. It's a very unique time, and people are struggling. And if you've been down to the yacht club, you can see that there's no business down there at all. I know they're on site. I see them when I go there, so I think that it will be monitored. And as Bob pointed out, it really doesn't matter the size of the boats as long as we're under 30 feet, because it's the area that we're designating, not the size of the boats. And having been a boat owner, I know that the trailers get locked. People don't just drive up and drive away with your boat. They just don't. So I think anybody that's going to store a boat there is going to lock their boat up. So that being said, with all the conditions, I'm in favor of this.
Thank you, Becky. Bob?
Can I ask one, the hours of operation, what are they?
8 to 5.
8 to 5.
And they took it
7
as a
days
condition.
week or 5 days a week?
It has to be 7.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is it 7 days a week?
We didn't define it.
Well, can we define it now?
No, let's ask the applicant.
I'd like to have it 7 days a week.
Okay, with the conditions that we mentioned, I would vote for this also. That it be temporary, 1 year only.
It's not even 1 year, it's less.
Well,
9/15/20 to 5/31/21.
well, that's not what we're saying. We're saying the 15th, right?
Right.
I would be in favor of the 31st. I think that many people don't put their boats in until June, when their kids get out of school and they have more time. So in my opinion, it should be the 31st of May, that is still early. And I don't think that we're going to be seeing a huge improvement in the pandemic by then.
All right, well.
Other people can say
Yep.
what they want, but I think 5/31, to nitpick over 15 days is not worth it, I don't think.
Well, my comments are that with optimism that hopefully things are getting back to normal more by next summer, and your events will be picking up, and you would want those boats out of there before Memorial Day. So I'm going to stick with May 15th because I'm hoping those 2 weeks are making a difference. I would agree to this with all the conditions that have been put on. I think, to echo what Becky said, you know, I'm sure your business is off, as many businesses in town and around the country are. I believe this is an opportunity where you can make this work. We're putting a lot of stipulations on. However, there was a number of neighbors here that brought up a lot of concerns. I hope you're hearing them. I hope you run this in a fashion that we don't regret that we granted this. So if I could get a motion, please.
I'd like to make the motion first. Kathy, did you get all those conditions?
I have them.
Oh, I'm asking her.
Yeah, I do have all the conditions.
Thank you.
My question is, are you guys going to vote on the actual end date of whether it's going to be May 15th?
Well, I believe there was more of us that wanted May 15th, but I'll poll the board. Bob, May 15th?
I like May 15th.
Becky was the
31st.
31st? 15th, I'm the 15th,
I don't care.
and you don't care.
Doesn't matter to me.
I think we've got more on the 15th, so the 15th is winning out.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the finding in accordance with Section 3.10.2A of the Danvers zoning bylaw to allow for temporary boat storage shown on the plan submitted for 1 year, as is not more detrimental than the current use. I also move that a number of conditions, which Kathy has listed, must be met and abided by in order to grant this finding. The municipal water and sewer shall not be overloaded by temporary boat storage. The public street shall not become overloaded by temporary boat storage. The value of other buildings and properties shall not be depreciated by the temporary boat storage. The specific date is an appropriate, site is an appropriate location for temporary boat storage. The temporary boat storage will not adversely affect the neighborhood. There will not be undue nuisance to vehicles, pedestrians. Adequate proper facilities will be provided to ensure the proper operation of the proposed temporary boat storage. The proposed temporary boat storage will be in harmony with the general purpose of the bylaw.
I've got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Good luck. Hope it works out. All right, folks, that is it. Did I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Good night, Danvers.